This is Office Talk with Annette Stepanian. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Office Talk. Now, I've got a question for you. Are you trying to do hashtag all the things all by yourself? How's it going for you? It's probably not so easy, right? You feel like you have tons to do, not enough time, not enough energy to get to all of it. I think we're all guilty of this, and I'm the first one to admit that I've got a lot to learn in this department. For example, I just got off a call with my own team. I've got a very small team of 2, and one of the folks was like, "Hey Annette, you got to delegate more. What can we help you with?" It's just not easy to let go, right? But I know for a fact that if you want to grow in your business, or maybe you just want a little bit more personal time and you don't want your life to be consumed by your business, you got to figure out how to bring on people to help you. If this resonates with you at all, I think you're going to enjoy today's episode with Katie Hunt, because we're talking all about hiring, but not so much from a legal perspective, rather from a practical perspective. Now, I know a lot of us, when we think about hiring, we think about getting these full-fledged employees and benefits and all these things. It can get so overwhelming. But what I love about this conversation with Katie is she gives some really great tips about how we can get the help we need without always having this really complicated team helping and supporting us. I saw Katie speak about a year ago on this topic, and I took some of her tips and I immediately put them into action. And I think you're going to feel the same way after you listen to this episode. So a little bit about Katie Hunt. She is the founder of Tradeshow Bootcamp and a business strategist and mentor to creative entrepreneurs. She's also the host of Proof to Product, which is a podcast all about taking listeners behind the scenes of growing a product-based business. Katie has a dual MBA in marketing and finance, and she spent the last 16 years coaching large corporations and entrepreneurs on marketing and business development strategies. Not only does Katie do all of this, but she's also the mother of 4. I think we've got a thing or two to learn from her. Let's go to the show. Well, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's fun to chat with you.
I know. I'm like, I know. Obviously, it's fun to chat with me.
Well, we've had chats in the past, and so we both know that it's fun to chat with each other.
That did not come out the right way, but you know what I mean. I'm looking forward to our chat because you really have a wealth of experience just in what you do today, but also before. So I want to dive into that as well. But before we get into all the nitty gritty, can you bring our listeners up to speed about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Katie Hunt, and I am the founder of a company called Tradeshow Bootcamp. It's a community for entrepreneurs, mainly in the product space and mainly in the stationery and gift world. We help them create a product line for the wholesale market. And what that means is the products that you see on the shelves of Target and Anthropologie and J. Crew, we're helping them get there. So we're helping them get them on the shelves of those big box stores and also independent boutiques internationally. And so I do that. I am the host of the Proof to Product podcast, which is where we interview our community members and our speakers and tell their story of growth. And I'm also a mama to 4 young kids.
Oh, wow. I'm like,
did I make you tired?
I think the last part was also like 4 kids. I don't know how you do it, honestly. Like I met somebody today who has 10 kids, 9 girls 10. And 1 boy. And
That's like, a lot. That's a lot. I was
like, how do you do that? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. My kids are 7, 6, 15 months, and I forgot the 3-year-old in the between, but 7, 6, 3, and 15 months. And so, like, I don't know. Everyone always asks, how do you do it? And frankly, every day is different. And we have a lot of great support around my husband and I. And yeah, we make it work.
Which I think is a great topic to talk about and was kind of what we were going to talk about is this concept of like the time management, the hiring. And I saw you speak a year ago now.
Can you believe it's been a year?
No, I can't.
I can't either.
Almost, yeah. It's been a year, but it almost feels like a lifetime ago.
Very true.
And so I heard you speak about, hiring and that whole thing, and not so much from a legal perspective,
Nope.
but from the perspective of getting the support you need. Because I know a lot of us start out we're one-woman shops, one-man shops, and we start evolving. And I feel like in order to grow, in order to get to that next level, everybody kind of hits that point of they're like, I can't keep doing this because it comes at such a cost at, your health sometimes, your own, your sleep, your well-being, your family life, so I would love to dive into that topic about hiring and kind of impart upon us the wisdom that you have acquired doing all that you do and being a mom to four as well.
Sure. Well, thank you. I think there's a misconception in the creative entrepreneur world that if you're going to, quote, bring on help or hire people, that they need to be full-time benefited employees that, are true employees, right? And from my experience and what I work with my coaching clients on is this whole idea that hiring has some flexibility to it and it's not one size fits all. Now, yes, granted, there's legalities to it, which you are so well versed in and can help school them on too during this conversation.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled programming to bring you today's legal brief. To learn more about hiring and the legal implications of it, check out episode 20 called All About Hiring. Now, back to the show.
My approach with my business has been, and what a lot of my clients are doing now, is to bring on independent contractors, people that are experts in the area that they are doing the work, they have their own business, and I contract them on a monthly basis to do certain things for me or for a certain number of hours or project basis. We have it structured in different ways for different people. And when I got my mind around the idea that, oh my gosh, I don't have to hire somebody full-time. Because to me, hiring somebody full-time felt really overwhelming. The idea of supplying them with enough work to keep them busy for 40 hours and to deal with payroll and taxes and all of the different things that come with having a quote employee, that overwhelmed me. And I think it overwhelms a lot of creative entrepreneurs and makes them go, oh, I'm not ready for that. When in reality, there's a whole world of people out there that are, part-time contractors, virtual assistants. There's people looking for work that's not full-time work. And so in so much that you can find those people to fill the holes where you need, you can really scale your business and you can make your family life easier and you can just create more space in your life for you to do the things that are most important to you. And in your business life, that means you focusing on the higher revenue generating projects or the things that are really going to push your business forward because you're not bogged down in some of the other tasks that somebody else can do for you. So one example of this is I have a project manager that started with me about beginning of the year, I guess. I had started bringing on some of these independent contractors and I was starting to feel like a bottleneck to them. Like I wasn't giving them instructions or like I wasn't available to answer their questions as much as I wanted. And so now I've got a project manager that's in between. And I grappled for a long time, like, what am I, like, I can manage these people. I'm a good manager. I've been doing this for a long time. I've had a lot of people under working for me and I enjoy that part of it. But at the same time, I was spending so much time providing them with information they needed to do their job that it was kind of becoming a deterrent, if that makes sense. So it was like this, we scaled up and then it became a problem. So I brought this project manager on and I was really reluctant. Like, is this a role I really need to fill? It's a higher level position. It's more money, but she has totally changed my life. And again, she's taking care of the contractors, making sure they have everything they need. She's coming to me with things that I need to answer, but I have the flexibility, the freedom to focus on the higher level projects that require my hands on them, require my voice to them, require my body there being present. And now, the trains are still on track because she's helping to lead the team. So I don't know, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's just one example of somebody I've hired recently that's really made an impact in my business. And again, she's an independent contractor. She has her own business. She works with me a set number of hours a month and we have set things that she does. She determines when she does the work and how she does the work and uses her own equipment. So I know there's some technicalities and legal.
Yeah, I love that you're going through the factors, the IRS factors of, behavioral control, financial control.
Right. Well, I know that it can get fuzzy and I know it can get there are things that you have to be aware of and consider. And so I just want to make sure your audience knows that as well. But back to the misconception, I really strongly feel that people need to realize there is flexible options out there if you do need help. And, I've got some people in the product space and they're having people package their cards at home. So somebody comes in on a Monday and takes a big plastic bin of product and all the materials they need to package things, takes it home with them. And then on Friday, they bring it back and everything's packaged. So get creative. Think about your business and the areas that you need help in and find creative ways to get the help you need.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I took away from your talk, well, there were two things. One was not always looking for help just in your business, but also in your personal life so that you have more hours to, those hours that you need for your business, you can now take away. So instead of spending 3 hours on a Saturday cleaning, that's 3 hours that you can now, if you wanted to, spend on your business or relaxing, whatever it is. But then also this idea of like hiring people for just single projects. Yeah. It's like I knew about it, but I had never thought about it. You gave this example of how you guys, I think you would go to these conferences and you would get all these business cards and then you would never follow up. And so you would just hire like a TaskRabbit or someone to just literally take your business cards and put it into a spreadsheet so that you could then follow up. And so that was huge for me because I think there's this, like to your point, like this misconception that it has to be this big thing, this person who is sitting next to you and working.
Or
and
ongoing work.
And so just thinking of that, of like, I guess getting into the habit of asking a question, A, is there a better way to do this? But B, can this be delegated to somebody? Even if it is, if you need a transcript done, right? I hire, there's companies that do it now.
There's so many resources out there. And that's when I say get creative. Talk to your other business pals, talk to your other, personal friends and find out how they're creating shortcuts in their lives. To your point about outsourcing personal stuff, I have to find shortcuts in life right now because my children are small. Our house still needs to be clean and clothes need to be washed and all of these different things, right? Like food needs to be on the table. And I'm one person and I'm running a business and I'm helping. My husband's obviously involved too, and there's other people involved, but I can't do it all and I can't do it all well either. And so, for example, I have groceries delivered usually once a week, especially during the school year. We started having a cleaning person come because I just couldn't keep up with it. And our kids help with chores and things too. And collectively, we just all couldn't keep up with it. There's a couple of things I use for my business. There used to be a service called Ship, which I just found out yesterday and I'm heartbroken over it that no longer, but they used to pick up packages from your home and send and mail them for you. So they take care of going to the post office for you if you needed to. There's lots of different things like that out there that can make your life easier. And some of it feels really luxurious when you first start using it. Like, oh my gosh, why am I sending somebody else to the post office? Or why can't I go to the grocery store? But if you look at how, if I go spend an hour at Costco and I could be spending that time doing a coaching call or working with somebody and making money during that hour. And if I'm only spending, maybe $10 for them to deliver it, it feels like a no-brainer, right? Have me do that extra work, have the groceries show up and, it's a time, it's a money, it's a sanity thing. So you really want to find people to help in different ways. And to your point about the business cards, I think in the whole project-based work versus ongoing work, I think that's part of the misconception. I think that's a huge mind shift that more of our creative entrepreneur world needs to go through. I think that we need to look at things. We need to look at big picture, but we also need to look in silos a little bit. How am I spending my time? And do I need to have my hands on each and every piece of this? Or can I get somebody else to do a piece of it and save me the time?
Yeah. I have a funny story because when I first moved to San Francisco, I lived in an apartment that didn't have a washer or dryer in the building, which is very common because the buildings are so old. And there was a laundromat next door that laundromat where you went and did the laundry.
Yeah.
And then
did they do fluff and fold too?
No, listen, hold on. And then there was a fluff and fold across the street, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is so, and then so they would literally wash your clothes, you'd pay by the pound, they'd fold it, and you just pick it up at the end of the day. And I at first was like, this is so weird. I don't want these like weird people touching my underwear.
Right.
But then I did the math and I was like, okay, the cost of the washer and dryer in the at the laundromat, like downstairs, was more expensive than me going across the street and having, these ladies fold my underwear for me, by the pound. And so it was just one of those things that at first felt so weird to me, but then by the end of it, I loved it. And then I moved into another apartment that had a washer dryer in the building. So I just ended up using that, but I longed for those days to
yeah. I have never done fall from fold, but I've been so intrigued. I think it was the underwear thing that was my hang up too, of like, how am I going to have strangers touching my like undergarments? It just feels so like weird, but I agree with you. Like once it's that mentality, it's that mind shift thing of like, okay, well, yeah, why can't I give up the laundry component? Why? I also feel weird about having somebody to come in to clean our house too. Like I'm one of those like clean before the cleaning lady comes.
Me too.
Because I want them to like do the deep clean.
Well, I don't want them to think I'm like a filthy person that doesn't, lift a finger and I'm this like privileged person.
Of course. For me, like we just, 4 young children, we've got stuff everywhere, like toys and stuff. So for me, like I want to get all that off the floor so that I can really like, take care of it. But
well, we have a mutual friend. I will not name her, but she said that at one point she paid somebody just to come fold her laundry. So she could get the laundry done, but she couldn't fold it because there was so much.
Yeah.
And talk about like projects, by hiring by project. But
yeah. So when my third was a baby and he was at home with me, I had a college girl that lived like family friend of ours that came to babysit like 3 to 4 hours a day so I could get like work done in the mornings.
Yeah.
And when he was a tiny baby, like he slept a lot. And so I told her, I'm like, okay, if he's like asleep, I need you to help fold laundry. And we agreed upon this in advance. I didn't just like spring it on her, but like I told her, okay, laundry. And also, can you sweep the kitchen? Like that was like my one thing of like, I needed the kitchen swept like every day. Cause I hate walking around barefoot.
Yeah. There's like crumbs everywhere. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so I'd always laugh cause like my husband would come home and be like, wow, the laundry's folded and the like kitchen's so clean. I'm like, oh no, like Brenda was here today and like she helped out and like, I don't know. Again, these things sound so like luxurious and privileged and all this, but also like you got to factor in the sanity component of like I can't do all of these things myself. I mean, I guess I can sweep the floor and fold the clothes, but I'm also dropping kids off and making lunches and I'm running my business and all these things we're doing on a day-to-day basis, something's got to give. So whether it's personal or business stuff, like just I don't know. We got to relinquish some control there.
Yeah. And what do you think about for some people who are listening who might be thinking, okay, like this sounds great. Obviously, I want someone to fold my laundry and go, like clean the crumbs off the floor and all that stuff. And
I do realize this sounds very privileged.
I know we sound so privileged, right? But so what do you say to somebody who's like, yeah, that's great. I want all of these things, but I can't afford it or, the money, right, comes into play. So how do you like coach your clients or the folks that you work with about making that shift? And sometimes it is a money thing. Like maybe they don't have the consistent revenue coming in where they know, okay, I can afford to hire this person on a monthly basis to do whatever it is.
This is a fantastic question because most of the time, the first thing I do actually is tell people, I want you to track your time. I want you to look at how much time you're spending on sweeping the floor and
seriously?
Yes, 100%. All of it. I want you to track your time for at least 2 weeks and figure out how you're spending your days. How much time are you in your email? How much time are you on social media? How much time are you playing around on Facebook? How much time are you recording podcasts or making your product or, working with clients? Record every single thing you do in your personal and your business life. Because here's the thing. Most of us are not taking into account the amount of time that we're doing, like that we're spending on these things. We're underestimating it. So we may think, oh yeah, I spend like 10 minutes a day doing that. Well, no, it's really an hour and a half. And so when you look at your blocks of time and your time tracking, it does a couple things. One, it's going to enlighten you as to where you're wasting time and how you can get that time back to focus on things that are a higher priority, whether it's personal or business. But then it's also going to let you see like, wow, I'm spending a whole lot of time, for example, on social media and I am scheduling stuff, but I could be doing this better. I could be doing this smarter. And so let's say you're spending 2 hours a day on social media, and that's 10 hours a week roughly, right? Like if you could hire somebody else that's an expert in social media strategy and planning to work for you, let's say 5 hours a week, and you get those 10 hours back that you were otherwise spending on it, you can then go make the money to pay for that person to work the 5 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think where I'm getting, like, that totally makes sense to me. But I think what people might be struggling with is that 10 hours I open up, I don't know if I can make that money. You know?
You don't? Well, okay. Yeah. See, in my mind, I'm thinking that 10 hours, I am going to book additional coaching clients. I am going to work on sales strategy for the courses I'm launching. Which is like looking at the revenue generating things that you do on a day-to-day basis and essentially taking that 10 hours and putting it in those buckets, the things that are going to make you money.
Okay. So you can't just sit on the couch and eat bonbons and watch TV.
I mean, you can.
I mean, you can, I guess.
You can, but then while you're eating the bonbons, you better be folding your clothes. So. Okay.
And picking the crumbs off the floor.
Exactly. And sweep the floors. But yeah, I mean, it's a give and take, right? I mean, there are definitely times where I'm hiring people so that I can sit on the couch and just, yeah, I don't know. Like you need downtime in your life. You need, margin to be able to function as a person. But I do understand that people look at hiring and they think, God, I don't have the money to do that. But I would challenge most people that are listening, if you really look at your time and how you're spending your time, I'm sure that you could find places that you could trade that time for money and earn that money so then you could turn and hire somebody.
Yeah. If anything, hire somebody for just a discrete project and you'll love it. And then you're like, I'm addicted.
Well, I was just going to say that too. As soon as I started hiring for my business, I saw the power of it. I saw that, things were happening faster. I was hitting my goals faster. I was making more money. I felt less stress personally. And I went on a little bit of a hiring spree, and now I've got 6 people on my core team. And when you factor in like our bookkeeper and all the other people, it's probably about 10 total. And that's just for the business. But, on the personal side, we've got some people that they're not like contractors, but our kids are at school and daycare and stuff like that.
So it's easy to sit here and say, okay, hire for this, hire, do that. But like, there's really an art when it comes to bringing people, starting to work with people and managing. And some people maybe have never managed other people and don't know how to delegate, right? That's something that's
so hard to manage other people.
Yeah. And I think nowadays it's so hard to get people's attention because people are so distracted and you're not always necessarily sitting in the same room together, right? You're working virtually. So what are some kind of best practices or tips that you might be able to share with us about how to structure that relationship? Again, not from a legal perspective, but how do you...
This is not legal advice. Go on.
Yeah, not legal advice, you guys. You can listen to another episode for that. But how to, I guess, architect that relationship a little bit so that you're not getting frustrated where you're like, I said A and this person understood Z,
Totally. Yeah, it's hard. So I should preface this by saying these are only my experiences and all of my people are virtual. So I have built a team and they all work on their own and in their own space. So to me, communication is like super important. They need to know that I'm available for questions and that I'm available whenever they need. I need to know that I can be straightforward with them and let them know what they did well, what they didn't do well. So communication both ways needs to be and I need to make it a point to articulate what the project is or what the goal is, what we're trying to accomplish so that they have clear expectations, which goes hand in hand with communication, right? Like clear expectations at the forefront of what you want out of this position. How they get there is up to them, but like what you want the end goal to be is really, you need to define that. So I think having clear expectations, having clear communication. So in terms of communicating, my team and I use Slack for online chatting, and we also use Asana for project management, and we'll do notes in Asana if it's project specific notes. We use Slack for more like general conversation about, team meetings and things like that. But I would say that setting expectations from the get-go, opening lines of communication, and then I like to give people autonomy in their work. I like that. nobody likes to be micromanaged, right? And so
Yeah.
I like to give them like, this is what we want to accomplish, like have at it. And also I encourage them to come back with suggestions, ways we can improve things. I don't know, like just how we can do better at whatever it is. I like to make sure that my team understands that this is a team and we're collectively working together for a common goal. And so if you need to speak up and we do things differently, like sweet, like some of the best things we've done on my team are because other people on my team have suggested them, not because they came from my brain. I like to hire experts too. I like to hire people that have a specific knowledge base or know-how to fill holes that we have on our team and things that we need filled. I'm not a huge fan, especially if you're just starting out in managing people and just starting out in hiring in your team. I know a lot of people say, oh, hire a VA. Well, a virtual assistant sounds so broad and so vague, and VAs can do a number of things. You know, are they a marketing specialist? Are they a tech person? Are they, you know, what's their area of expertise? And so if you're considering hiring, I really encourage you to find somebody that knows exactly what your needs are and how to solve those problems rather than just a generalist. That generalists serve a purpose and are good, but when you're just starting out, I find that it's better to kind of niche down and like find somebody that is an expert. I learned so much from them too, because they know so much more about their area of expertise than I do. So
yeah, and it's good to like talk to people who like kind of have their finger on the pulse of like kind of, you know, what's going on, you know, and because when you're so consumed with your business sometimes and doing your work, sometimes it's nice to have fresh, you know, another set of eyes that are like, hey, you know, this thing is happening, you know, 100%. Have you thought about this?
Yeah, and I'm like, I agree. The other thing is like, when you're just thinking about hiring, when you're hiring your first person, like turn to your friends and find, like, once you have a general idea of what you want to be delegating out. And if you need some help in that area, I actually hosted a free workshop with Heather Crabtree before my speaking at her conference last year. So if you want to watch that course, we can link it in the show notes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the deciding what to delegate. So you can get some help in figuring out what to delegate, whether it's personal or business or whatever. But once you've decided what to delegate, ask your friends for referrals first. I always start with friends being the first stop of finding somebody new because they've worked with other people that they really like, or they've had, you know, I like referrals better than just finding people online or in Facebook groups and stuff like that, like having that personal connection.
Yeah. And, you know, thanks for sharing that link. We'll definitely put it in the show notes for people. But that was my next question. What do you decide to hire for? You know, like, what are some questions people should be asking themselves to determine, okay, regardless of what the title is, like, I need someone who could do this. Is it like, what am I spending a lot of time on that I shouldn't be? What am I struggling with? What are the questions that you encourage people to think about? I guess to define the role or what they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think it goes back to that time tracking that we talked about earlier, because that is just going to, I don't mean to sound so dramatic about it, but I felt like when I did the time tracking, and I do it every now and like a couple times a year, I'm always shocked at how I'm spending my time, because I, in my head, think that I'm spending my time one way, and then I see it tracked and I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm spending more time here and I didn't realize that. But going back to that time tracking, you're going to see where you're spending your time, and anything that you don't have to have your hands on, or that's like admin level, or like maybe you'll see trends is what I'm trying to say with that tracking. And you'll start to see like, wow, I'm spending a lot of time on these like writing type of things, or social media, or tech stuff. And so when you see that you're spending large chunks of your time on something in particular that maybe you shouldn't be, that's where I would say, okay, let's hire somebody for that. And then, you know, taking that a step further, like asking around and asking the questions, like, once you see your time tracking too, you know what kind of projects you want that person to do. So that kind of helps to build your job description in a way too, because you can say, oh, well, I was spending time with scheduling and taking photos, and I'm just making this up on the fly, but
yeah,
so, like, you can kind of build that into a job description and see who you know or who your friends know that can do that kind of stuff for you.
And something similar I did to that. I mean, as a lawyer, you track every 6 minutes. And so I have a little bit of an aversion of tracking my daily.
And I worked in the legal industry for, I don't know, over 15 years, I think, if you add in like my high school and college stuff. And I never understood why 6 minutes.
I don't either. I don't know. It's like, so I don't know, but it's what's so weird, Katie, is after a while you start thinking in 6-minute increments. So like I would be at the gym and I had like 12 minutes left and on the treadmill, right? I'd be like, I have 0.2 left to go. Or like someone would walk into the office and I'm like, that was 0.1, of a conversation. And yeah, it kind of messes with your sense of like time.
Well, and I could see too your aversion to wanting to track your time when you have to do it on a daily basis for, your client work. But
yeah. But
I don't know. It's powerful for me.
And this is not to, I think it's a great exercise. I was just going to suggest another one that I did recently.
Tell me.
Where I didn't write down what I did every day, which again, I still think you should do it. And you can use like Toggle is free. There's like different ways you can track your time for free. But I wrote down everything I do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, right?
Ooh,
so, yeah. And then I wrote down, so I just like kept track, like, take Instagram photos, schedule Instagram photo, whatever it is, right? And then I went through and I put them in groups. So what was revenue generating, what was administrative, and what was operational.
Love that.
And then color coded them because I color code things. And I was surprised at how much time I was spending on things that were, not necessarily revenue generating. They were like admin operational type of things, which were then the things that I was like, okay, I need to find people or softwares or solutions to these because it's taking too much of my day, week, or month, right? I thought it was a really helpful exercise to like visually and color coded see with colors like, wow, that's taking up way too much of my spreadsheet.
Well, I love breaking it down into those 3 components too, revenue generating, operational, and administrative, because then too, you could dial it even further if you wanted to break administrative or operational down into other categories too. No, I like that. I've also seen people do similar things. And then from there, they've prioritized like, okay, when and if I'm ready to hire somebody, it's going to be this spot first, this spot second, this spot third. So it's kind of like strategic planning for the future based upon how your time are.
And then I added a section. I forgot to say this. Things I want to do on a monthly, weekly, or a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but I don't have time to do or something. And then that was a whole other list of like stuff to do that I could potentially, fill a role for or give to, somebody that is already on my team to do. So so much to do.
And I think the other thing I want to say about all this is that as entrepreneurs, we're too hard on ourselves. We are constantly striving for perfection. We think we need to do it all. We think we need to grow this team. We need to grow our revenue. That's not always the case. Like, I want you to live a happy, successful life based upon what success is for you. And if that means pouring more into your business and hiring more people for your business, great. If that means keeping your business running lean and mean and maybe freeing up some time in your personal life so you have more time for friends and family or whatever it is, that's where you should be spending your time. I feel like it kind of goes back to the whole definition of success is different for you versus me. How we're spending our time and where we're spending our money is the same thing. It aligns with what makes us happy and healthy and successful. It's going to be different for everybody.
I love that you brought that up. I think that's a good reality check because I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before. And if I have, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but a few months ago, someone asked me like, how much do you want to make a year? Yeah. Right. And I just like threw out some number like I want to make X. And then I like walked away from that conversation and I was like, do I really want to make X? Like, really? I mean, realistically, like what is that like monthly number that I would feel like would be more than enough for me to have the kind of business I want, have the kind of lifestyle I want and all that stuff. And I was like, it's not a whole lot, and it kind of took a little pressure off of me because I was like, I don't really feel like I need to be making, all these big numbers because at a certain point, I don't know if the effort and the actual quote unquote cost that it's going to take for me to reach that number is going to make me any happier or fulfilled.
Yeah.
I think I just, like, I have my enough number, like, where I feel like it's enough. And it's not as big as I thought it would be. So I think that's a really good point for people to realize, like, what is your definition of success? You know, what is your number? What is enough for you? Even though that might look different for, you know, that person that you're trolling on Instagram.
But okay, to that same point, like getting to that next bigger, that next better, whatever, like that comes with, like you were talking about, the mental stress, the time. Like that's where you need to bring people on your team because, again, you can't do all the things. So I don't know. I feel like the scalability of a business can sometimes, I don't want to say it's not worth it because for some people it is. That's their priority. But I think you just need to know what your priorities are. You need to know what success looks like for you. You want to know what kind of life you want to have and how much money you want to make and how that money will make you have the life you want. But I think it's good to keep in mind that, like, scaling a business comes with a lot of extra stress and work. And, you know, there's just, do you want that? Do you want all that? Do you need all of that?
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah. And I don't mean to, like, turn this towards a negative type of thing, but I think it's good to keep.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's actually positive.
Good, because I want it to be positive. I want people to know that, like, we don't need to put so much pressure on ourselves to do everything, to grow our team, to make tons of money. Like, we need to do what's best for us, for our business, for our family, for our, you know, our personal life. And to your point too, like, we can't get hung up looking on Instagram or like looking around at what everyone else is doing and aspiring to have that, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes in their life. You don't know what decision, like how they're making the decisions they're making.
Yeah, it's so true. Oh my gosh. So true. I honestly, I just like looked at the clock and I was like, oh my gosh, we've been talking for about 35 minutes. And
went by so fast.
Right? And I'm like, I want to talk about all these other things with you because you have, like I said, you have so much experience, both like in the corporate world as well as in the entrepreneurial world. And you bring such a great perspective and a good balance to the rest of us, you know, in the entrepreneurial world that I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of what I want to talk about. So maybe we'll have to have you back for part 2.
Thank you. I would love that.
Yeah. So Katie, then let's wrap it up with the question that I ask all of my guests, which is the one thing I know for sure is, and I ask you to fill in the blank.
So the one thing I know for sure is that done is better than perfect, whether it's in your business life or your personal life. I think, again, going back to something I said earlier, we strive for perfection as entrepreneurs, and sometimes A- work is all we need to do. It's great, and I think we need to be okay with that. So if you're hung up on something and you feel like you're not making progress, look at whatever you're working on and say, is this A- work? Because A- work is pretty darn good.
I'll even take a B+ sometimes.
Yes, exactly. But again, like, done is better than perfect. Get something out, get whatever you're working on out into the world so that people can enjoy it and learn from it. Don't hold yourself back trying to get to perfection.
Well said. Well, Katie, thank you so much again for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, there you go. I hope you learned a nugget or two that you could start implementing in your business and your life today. Now remember, one of the biggest takeaways that I took from this conversation is that it doesn't always have to be help in your business. It could just be help in your personal life that gives you the time and space that you need in order to focus on your business. If you'd like to learn more about Katie or get in touch with her, you can reach out to her at tradeshowbootcamp.com. And as always, all of her details are available on the show notes at AnnetteStepani.com/office talk. Okay, my friend, we're going to wrap it up with another episode. Next week, I'll be back with another legal quickie where I answer a frequently asked question about business and law. If you're not already a subscriber to the show, go on and click subscribe right now. Go on, go do it. I'll wait. By subscribing, you'll automatically receive next week's episode so you won't miss a beat. Okay, my friend, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I can't wait to talk to you later.
Does it sound familiar? You've got this great business idea. Maybe you want to work with savvy clients, helping them with your unique skills and talents. Or perhaps you want to open the virtual doors to your online store. Whatever your chosen path, as you start your business, you quickly realize that there's quite a learning curve when it comes to being your own girl boss. And you wonder, if only someone showed me what to do step by step to get my business up and running. Well, my dear, your wish has been granted. It's time to get down to business. Let's Get Down to Business is an online training I created to walk you through step by step how to get your business started from a legal perspective. No more thinking, I don't know what I don't know. Head on over to yourlegalbff.com and check out Let's Get Down to Business. And let's get your dream business up and running the legal way.